Wellington in the studio with me, and we're going to be talking about something really that I think is really key, and
Okay.
that's the idea of turning protest to power. So, first of all, I'd like to say a big welcome
Thank you very
to
much.
you, Mr.
I'm
Wellington.
happy to be here.
I'm really happy to have you on because I actually heard you speaking about this
Yeah.
a few times, a couple of times now, and it hit me so hard when you
Mm-hmm.
talked about the need for us to turn protest to power.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, we're going to need to have like an in depth conversation about this because it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some truths in the
Mm-hmm.
world
Mm-hmm.
that hit you,
Mm-hmm.
but then when you try to take the truth into a reality and you try to parlay it into something that will make change, you start to come against
The
logistical and
obstacles. Yes.
all sorts.
Yes.
So now it's time for us to talk about how do we do that.
Let's do it.
So, people, it's a conversation, which means that there are so many different ways that you get to join it. We are streaming live up on youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. Make sure you go over there.
Mm.
Make sure you join the conversation by using the live chat function and share your thoughts, ask your questions up there. Of course, it's a Lagos Talks, emphasis on the talk. So, you can also call on 0144489981, and you can take things over to Twitter using the hashtag Lagos Talks 981. Have I talked about WhatsApp? I don't think I have. 0809 440 That is the WhatsApp number. Make sure you send your messages in. All right, protest of power. Let's get talking.
Let's
Okay.
get talking.
So, first things first, like I've said already, I've heard you speaking about this a few times now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so key because we know that protests and protest movements have a massive effect in making social and political change.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen here in Nigeria our fair share of protests, from the women's riots and revolts
Mm-hmm.
back in the day to the student protests in the 70s and 80s,
Mm-hmm.
June 12th as well. And of course, we can't speak about protests and change without talking about the NSAS protests.
That's correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
this was 2 years ago, October 2020.
Yeah.
However, for me, even though protest has its place and we have seen great and massive change come about from protests and protest movements, there's that thing. Let's take the Arab Spring
Mm.
into consideration now,
Mm.
because we saw the wildfire protest movements that took over in these countries.
Mm-hmm.
But then we saw the spring turn into crisis in Libya, in Yemen, in Syria, to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that speaks to the fact that there's a lacuna between protest and power.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we bridge that gap now?
Yeah. So for me, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. The goal is to change or to move from protest to power, right? And when we speak about protest, I've probably been involved in more peaceful protests than most people that I know, at least amongst my peers and amongst my colleagues in entertainment and in the business sectors. Um, NSARS being the most recent, but as far back as Enough is Enough, RSVP, the Register Select Vote Protect movement, as far back as Light Up Nigeria, Bring Back Our Girls, Occupy Nigeria. So I've always either been the person with the megaphone or the person in the WhatsApp group that planned the whole thing, or all of the above.
Okay.
But like you said, the goal of protest is change, it's impact, it's improvement in the way things are. And until we see the kind of change that we seek, then it means the protests have not yet been completely successful. So while protests are important, I think we need to channel this same energy and frustration and activity into getting into places of political power, into political relevance. And the only way to do that is for us to find like minds who are willing to stick their necks out and support those people and collaborate with those people to get them into places of elected positions. Now, when we talk about power, there's appointed power and elected power, and both are important. But I think elected office is more impactful because you serve at the pleasure of the people.
Because it comes from the people.
Because it comes from the people. Appointed power, you serve at the pleasure of the person that appointed you. And so there are limits to what you can do, and that person can, pull the plug on your existence in public office. But if you get into office through an elected position, then for the period of that term, thank God it's a democracy, for the next 4 years, unless you're impeached, and there's a whole process about that. But for the period of that term in the democracy, you serve at the pleasure of the people. You're accountable. At least you should be accountable to the people. And I think
that you should be.
Yes. Well, because now, when you start to talk about accountability, you also have to dig into how do people get into office in Nigeria, right? So Does somebody get into office because the people decided for the person to get into the office, or does the person get imposed on a constituency or on a political party? I mean, we have people who don't even need to win their primaries to get the ticket of their party, whereas we have people who have to fight multiple times. Case in point,
I think it.
myself. Where you get the mandate of the people and it tries to be stolen from you, and then you have to fight to protect that mandate. And then, for in our case, we had to do a whole second rerun of our primaries to hold on to that mandate. But it shows you that for us to be able to win our primaries twice, to be standing here with the ticket of a mainstream political party in this election, we have the will of the people. We have the hearts of the people. The people believe in what we're trying to do. This is servant leadership that believes in earning the right to serve, earning the right to lead, not a candidacy that is imposed, on people or forced on people, as it were. And so I think that's the difference, and those are the choices that people have. Now, when we talk about elections, a lot of times people want to focus only on the presidency, and the presidency is important, but it's also important all the way down the ballot, from presidency to governor to senate to House of Representatives to State House of Assembly to local government chairman. All of these positions are critical in creating the kind of environment and the policies that govern the environment that we live in, that our businesses can thrive in.
And the lower they go, by the way, in my opinion, the more important they are,
The
because
more
the closer
important
they
they
are to
are,
the people.
and the easier it is to win them. So the presidency is always won with somewhere around 15 million votes, right? That's a big number. It's hard to get 15 million votes. And, it's doable, but it is what it is. The Lagos State governorship in 2019 was won with 730,000. Lagos State has about 30 million people, depending on which population estimate you believe. Now, when it comes down to the House of Reps, this seat in Etiosa, which had 337,000 registered voters in 2019, was won with 21,880 something votes.
I have to say that is a huge gap between the voters and the people who voted.
And that's how you know that it's actually not as hard as people think to move from protest to power, but it's believing, or it's giving into the apathy, and here's the thing, Shopsy, it's infinitely easier to be part of a protest than it is to be part of the political process, right? Because if somebody says we're going to have a march, right? You see the post on Twitter, you see it on Instagram, you wear your t-shirt and your sneakers, you're out the door. You're part of the movement, you're part of the protest. You go, you march, you take the selfie, you carry the placard, you write on your Twitter, boom, you're part of it. If you want to be part of the elections, you have to have registered to vote online. You have to have done your biometrics. You have to have gone to pick up your PVC. Then you have to show up on election day and wait until you're able to cast your vote, and hopefully wait until all the votes are counted at your polling unit. Those are 4 or 5 distinct processes that take a level of intentionality that we have to commit to, as opposed to just saying, oh, there's a march today, I'm going to go out, and now you're part of the movement. Politics is a marathon, it's not a sprint. It takes intentionality, it takes commitment, it takes dedication, it takes understanding the game long term and committing to be a part of that long term. And that's what we need. And I think that that's where we fall short.
Okay, now something that I want to ask you, and it may, well, when we talk about power now,
Yeah.
so the constituency seat that you're running for, in the states that it's in the nation at which the federal government is in, this is all opposition.
Yes.
You're in the opposition.
Yes.
So if we're looking at trying to get protests to power, how wouldn't you pick, let's say, the party that's in
That's the
power?
ruling party.
Yes.
Okay, it's a great question. So I think there's a few things that I need to say about that. Number one, politics is local, right? So if you are going to get into politics, you have to be able to look at the local landscape of politics and say, where can I get in while still holding on to my values, holding on to my vision, being the person that I know my people need me to be, fighting for what I need to fight for. And on the local landscape in Lagos politics, it made more sense to go with the opposition party. The thing about the opposition party, not just really, honestly, not just really locally, but even on a national level, is that the PDP is actually a democratic institution. And that's true in every sense of the word, good or bad. So a democracy is, you get the majority, whatever the majority says, that's what goes, right? So if the majority of the people who are getting involved in the process are bad or are corrupt, then the results that are going to come out from that process will be to the will of that majority. However, if good people, influential people, people who think differently, people who are right thinking, who are like minded people start to get involved in that same process, then they have a chance to drag that process and to change the narrative of that process. And that's what the PDP presented us with. Whereas with the ruling party, especially the ruling party in Lagos, anybody who has paid attention to Lagos landscape knows that it's really a dictatorship in democracy, in democratic clothes. It's what a certain person or a certain group or cabal that is around that person decides that goes. That's the way that it goes. It doesn't matter what happens in your primaries. If Baba Sope that you are the one that should be with the tickets, even if everybody else wants something different, it doesn't matter. And that's, for us, was one of the major things that made PDP a more attractive choice. And then, okay, go ahead.
Now you've talked about that at the
Yeah.
local level,
Yeah.
and we've got a couple of minutes before we go on a break. But what I wanted to say is that
Okay.
PDP is not relegated to the local level. This is a national player,
Absolutely.
a player that was in power for 16 years.
Yes.
So when we talk about these issues and dictatorship and whatnot,
Yeah.
people in those 16 years
Yeah.
said the exact same thing about the PDP.
Right.
For me, right now, when I think about party politics in Nigeria, I'm
Right.
not seeing any ideological differences. I'm not even seeing much of any differences apart from a rose is a rose by any other name.
Right.
Because there have been plane crashes where we have seen members of opposing parties all together, all related in one way or another through marriage, through political
Absolutely.
alliances,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
So people would say, what's the difference?
So here's the difference. And I've said this before. I'm not in the PDP to defend its history. I'm in the PDP because I have a chance to reform the future. And that's what we're doing. We're building a bridge into mainstream politics in a mainstream political party that has given us that chance to come in and bring other like minds in. So that over the next couple of election cycles, we start to put like-minded people in places of relevance. At the end of the day, delegates select so that citizens can elect. So we're talking about House of Reps, right? We need to talk about delegates. Who becomes a party delegate? What's the process for that? How do you get like-minded people to even join the party and start to be a part of the system? How do you get right-thinking people to become party delegates? We have chairmen, we have women leaders, we have youth leaders, we have secretaries, we have vice chairmen, we have ad hoc leaders in every ward, in every zone, in every constituency in the country. So until we start to understand that and start to get involved in that, I sit in rooms full of young people all the time, and people say the same thing. Oh, it's all bad. This party is like that. Okay, how many of you are card-carrying members of any political party? Because guess what? Even the new party that you think is a place full of saints is constituted of people who have joined other parties before and have decided to go there. So if you like, fine, don't go into one of the big two. Go and join somewhere and be a part of that process. Because until we're part of the process that produces candidates, we will always most likely be frustrated by the candidates that it produces. That's what I mean by saying that this thing is a democracy. It's not enough to talk about it. My sister, you cannot hijack a plane unless you are inside. If you don't get inside the plane of politics, if you don't get inside and find a way to get into the cockpit, you will forever be frustrated and you'll be pointing fingers and shouting. And that is no longer enough. That's what we mean by saying moving from protest to power. You don't like it, change it. You don't like it, get involved in it. You don't like it, find your way into. That's what we're doing. And I'm speaking from experience, right? In 2019, we formed a political party. And I say political party in quote because it was two people. It was BK, the chairman of the party. He was running in Ondo State, and it was me. I was running in Lagos. But we tried it, right? We did it. We put together
MDP, right?
MDP. We put together an effort. There was really no party. There was no structure. It was just two crazy guys that decided, me with my friends and families and volunteers, you with your friends and family and volunteers, let's try this thing. Let's dip our feet in the water. Let's give it a shot. And we did. And we ran the kind of campaigns that people were generally very proud of. But we're trying to change this government, right? We're trying to change the system. We're trying to do things better. It means we have to get into it. You don't hijack a plane unless you're inside. You don't hijack government, and I don't like to use the word hijack. You don't change government. You don't transform government. You don't do any of that unless you get into
Unless you
it.
get
So let's
inside.
get into it and stop complaining about how bad it is if you are not willing to try and get involved in it. I mean, my primaries is a perfect example, right? We have to engage with Nigeria where it is, not where we want it to be. So I went for my primaries. We won in a landslide. The next morning, the results said something different. So what do? Do you give up and give in and say it's bad because we had that option to throw in the towel and say, oh, well, look at it? No, you fight. And this is what fighting looks like. And that's the message to the generation. Come and join us in the fight. Let's fix this thing together. It is possible. We can do it. We fought it. And if I tell you how much time and money and energy and blood, sweat, tears, gbogbo that we had to put into just holding on to our mandate, but we did it.
So what I'm gonna do,
And we did a rerun, and we won it again. And that shows you that it's doable. It is possible. We can do this thing.
that was the story that got to people when they
Yes.
saw the events unfolding.
Yes.
Now we've got to take a break. When we get back, the phone lines will be open. So the number to dial is 01448998. Already see the messages coming in on WhatsApp. Keep on sending them. 0809 440 981.
Don't even think about touching like that.
Ooh, that's loud.
That was nice.
That's loud.
We moved.
Hijack the plane from inside.
Come on now.
Okay.
That's the truth.
Is that another question?
It's the truth, my sis. It's the truth.
What's going on with people? Is it me or is it? Okay, no, it is me. There's something about my laptop now that whenever I log into YouTube, it just turns. I don't know why. Okay. Please, when we get back, let's talk money.
Let's talk money.
Let's talk money.
Let's talk money.
Because okay, that probably speaks. But like most politicians, he's being economic with the truth. He's in PDP because that's where he got the ticket to contest. When the youth become serious about power, they will do the hard work the Americans require, and that's not joining an existing party. Okay, this is interesting. So I'll read this message, FTA from VGC, who says that you're in PDP because you got the ticket to contest in PDP, but that rather he'd prefer that for people to actually who want to be serious about power, that they should start their own party. That's different from established parties already, and start from there. That's an interesting one. So I'll ask you what's on this. This is for
Our online banking app to our Smart 731 hash platform, to our super fast loan services, and so much more.
The
You'll find a refreshing
ironic thing to me is when people,
variable to pleasurable. Experience
Yeah.
customer dedication.
everybody is the coach of a world-class football team from their couch,
Yep.
right? You have never set foot in the political arena, and it's easy to roll off your tongue, start your own party. I did. In 2019, we
Yeah.
did do our own party.
Yeah.
And in 2023, from the lessons we learned from that, we decided that it is more effective of us to take over a party and that's partly why we did the opposition, is to say, if we can win in Ethiopia, it gives us somewhere to build from within Lagos PDP.
So
And
are
that
you
changes
not
things.
worried though, about being tainted and tarred with the same brush? Because for people now,
Let me tell you
when they
something.
look at these,
Let me tell you something. When I was an independent candidate in an independent party, I was still tainted with the same brush. They still accuse me of corruption. If you go back and check how they used to drag me in 2019, simply because I said I wanted to enter politics. As an independent, as a leadership candidate, the suspicion is there, the brush is there, you're going to be tainted anyway. So you cannot let your decisions be dictated by people who just want to find a reason to attack. There's an African leader that said, when I'm fighting for my people, I end up fighting with one hand because I need to use the other hand to keep them from scaring me. If you are coming into this game, you need to have thick skin because those accusations and suspicions are there,
always gonna fly.
regardless of which way you want to get into it.
all right, and we are back. It's 21 minutes gone past 9 o'clock, and this is Lagos Talks on Smooth Breakfast. I'm Sope Martins, and I have got Olubankole Wellington in the studio with me.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
is the PDP House of Representatives candidate for Etiosa constituency, and he's here to talk about something that is really key, especially here in Nigeria. We've seen it happen across African countries and across the world, really. But that is the idea of how we get from protest to power to real, effective political and social change.
Mm-hmm.
So the phones are already going. Let's take our first call and see what the people have to say. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, Soji from Festac, go ahead. Do you have questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Mm. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm. 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 Okay.
All right,
All right.
Soji.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saji. So the first thing he asked was about how I chose to go for the House of Reps as opposed to something smaller. In the same vein, a lot of people have asked me why choose House of Reps when you can go for the Senate or go for the governor. After all, you have the name and the facial recognition. You know, across the country, you are known. You had some people saying, why didn't you contest for presidency? We need young people with fresh ideas to contest for presidency. Why? So I think when it comes down to which elected office that you go for,
Mm-hmm.
you have to decide where you feel like you can have the impact that you want to have and where you also qualify to ask for that job. Now, nobody graduates from university and goes into a Fortune 500 company and says, I want to become the CEO, make me the CEO tomorrow. It doesn't really work like that. You have to understand what skill set and the experiences that you've had till that point and say, okay, based on what exists in my resume, I think I qualify for this job, give me a shot at this job. Now, I'm a businessman. I have interest in music, in film. I co-own a chain of fast food restaurants. I've done a lot of community service work and impact work in my constituency and around the country. And just based on my education, my experiences, my entrepreneur background, and the things that I faced, I feel like when it comes to being a federal lawmaker, I've earned the right to ask for this job, to apply for this job. And people can weigh my experiences, which are pretty well known. If you don't know it, you can look them up, against the people that I'm running against. And you will see that pound for pound, I am qualified to ask for this job. I am qualified because I know what business owners have gone through, because I'm a business owner myself. I've created jobs, I've created work, I've created revenue in various sectors of our economy. You know, I've taken my lumps, I've had my successes, I've had some experiences that didn't go quite as well, but all of those have been learning experiences. And I have the educational background to say, when it comes to being a federal lawmaker, I think I can do that. And then furthermore, my job is also to influence down and to influence upwards, right? So, you know,
Okay.
the positions that he talked about, the councillors, the local government chairman, the State House of Assembly. All of those positions are extremely important, yes. And part of what I'm trying to do is to open the door for like minds at various levels to come into those positions as well and to influence upwards. So what do we want from our senators? What do we want from our governors? What do we want from our president? That's my job, is to be the voice of the people at the federal level and to influence upwards and to influence downwards. So I feel like that. Were you going to say something?
I'd like to take some more calls.
Some more
because they're all
calls.
coming in.
So that's what I would like to say about that. And then he said, how did I get on the ballot in 2019? We formed an independent party. It was called Modern Democratic Party. Pretty much, it was just two of us on the ballot. There was nobody else contesting because it was an independent thing. As far as how I got on the ballot, as far as how I got on the ballot now, I contested like many other aspirants that showed interest in the House of Reps ticket. I spent 80 to 90% of my year doing the work in every ward meeting in my constituency, meeting with all the chairmen, all the women leaders, all the vice chairmen, every position of leadership, and with the community. I spent most of my time and resources this year, showing face in the communities, meeting with people, sitting down with people, engaging with people, and contesting the way that you should contest. And based on the work that we did, the people felt like this is the kind of candidate that we feel is really going in there to do the work for us, that's going there to serve and not going there for any other purpose. And that's how we won our primaries, and I've already told you the story about that. And then as far as it being a democratic institution, remember what I said, a democracy is only as good as the people that build it. It's only as good as the people that are involved in it. And so when you see results that you don't like, it just means that there are more people involved in it that don't believe what you believe and don't necessarily agree with your way of doing things. So if you are not satisfied with it, you can sit there and point fingers at it, or you can get involved with it and start trying to influence it and change it. And that's what we're doing. Am I saying that PDP is a perfect party? Absolutely not. Am I saying that it has a perfect history? Absolutely not. But I am saying that I'm not here to defend the history and everything bad that has happened, but I'm here to reform the future. And I think that I deserve a chance to give this a shot. And that's the great thing about democracy. God forbid that I fail. In 4 years, I won't be able to come back, right? There's nobody bankrolling this. There's
That's
nobody.
in democracy.
Right.
We've seen people come back from things
Yes.
that they should not have been able to come back
Yes,
from.
but here's the thing, right? It depends on how you get in, right? So if you are imposed by somebody, then it doesn't matter what you do in the 4 years, as long as that person you still have favor with that person can impose you again. But I'm not being imposed by anybody. I'm here because the people decided that I should be here, because we have the backing of the people. And if I fail, then I no longer have the backing of the people, and then what do I do?
So there's so many questions that I have to ask and I think we may have to take this into the break, but and up on youtube.com/smooth981fm Lagos, because first things first, you talk about people being put into position who are not from the people but from, let's say, a person or a cabal. There's that. For people who have to who are elected by the people, let's face it, in the Nigeria that we currently have, they are very rare, once in a blue moon sighting. And so when you have a lone candle in the wind, how much light can it bring? One lone candle in the dark in the wind. The second thing is, when we talk getting into politics and getting into elected positions, I'm sorry, but we need to talk about the obvious, which is that running for anything, any seat, any position takes a heck of a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So how do people take protest to power when the road to power doesn't run unless it's paved with money? And that brings us to our break. So things for you to think about. We'll talk about after the break and take more calls on 0144899981. I'll also be reading your messages out when we get back. So much and so little time, but we'll see what we can do. And this is how the time flies away from you.
I know.
Okay.
I
And
know.
we've been getting messages, so I'll need to read some of these out. Desmond Elliott. Oh, Desmond Elliott got in and was tongue
I think I
lashed by
get the
the
Desmond
roots.
Elliott question every interview or public platform that I'm ever on. Every single one.
I hope you won't sweet talk us because that is, people relate to things from historical,
Yeah, of
from
course.
history.
Of course.
So that's what they're gonna superimpose
Of
on
course.
you.
Yeah. I understand.
But my question is this: we all know about political influence personnel. How do you intend to manage that in conjunction with your political goals? Okay. Mr. Willie?
Do you have a room temperature?
Money. Okay, so those are the two things we'll talk about.
Free debit cards and so much more. You've always heard with a couple accounts. Get started today by downloading the app from the Google Play Store or iOS App Store. Cowboy, change the way you bank.
I dream of a new Lagos, where we leave our homes and return the same. Safely hold our bags and phones on the streets. But not anymore, because no city is above the law.
Follow the lives of two detectives as they bring justice to Lagos in this fast-paced action drama series, Crime and Justice. Coming
there are
December 8th,
episodes
only on
recorded by any
Showmax.
chance? What are we
Subscribe from 1,200 Naira monthly. Sign up now at showmax.com. You summon the oracle now. Greetings, my chief. I'm the oracle sample. You will tell me the secret to your power. How did that keke move without a driver?
Is Soji a regular contributor?
Yes, he is.
Because somebody wrote me, was like, I apologize on Soji's behalf. His questions never have full stop.
Soji!
His
Soji
questions and
is...
statements never have any full stop.
Yeah, Soji's a regular.
Oh, God
He's
bless him.
a regular.
Technology will change the way
Oh,
I was
Lord
like, oh,
bless
wow.
him. We have some very regular callers on
Standard
Lagos Talks.
contributors. I love it.
You have no idea. If it's not Lagos Talks without Soji Abbas,
Wow.
Adiola. Oh, I love Adiola. Adiola is amazing.
Oh,
He's got a
wow.
different mind.
Amazing. Okay.
Combination of radio and coffee.
All right, and we're back for more. It is Lagos Talks on Smooth Breakfast. I've got Olubankole Wellington. A lot of people have been sending me messages, Banky W, because of course that's how people first came to know you.
Yeah. I want to quickly respond to, before you read the message, I want to respond to what you said.
So
before we
don't
talk
worry, I was already
Okay.
going to
Okay.
get back into that. So there
I
were
didn't want
two
you to
things.
leave that point.
No, I wrote it down.
Ah, okay.
There were two things
Go
that I asked, which was the first being
The candle,
so
the
if
lone
you
candle.
exactly
Mhm.
the lone candle, how do you in the current what's the word environment
Mhm.
see yourself or see anyone who goes in with a different mind making that change?
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Okay.
they're
So,
the only candle or one of the only candles in the wind.
can I go on that point?
Go ahead.
Okay. So let me ask you a question.
Hmm.
If this room is completely dark and somebody turns on a candle or a light bulb or a torchlight, does it make a difference?
Slight difference.
It does, but does it make a difference?
Okay, yes.
Yes, it does. And so we either choose to leave the room as dark as it is, or we start to turn on light bulbs, and we start to turn on candles, and we start to turn on torchlights. Torchlights meaning we go in there shining the light on the activities of the National Assembly. We go in there shining the light on budgets and what budgets are used for. The good thing about being a lawmaker is that you have multiple roles, right? You have a role as a lawmaker. You also have a role in terms of constituency development. If all I do is raise the bar by the things I'm able to facilitate for my constituency, that it starts to put pressure on people in other constituencies to say, in Etiosa, the representative is doing so. Why can't my rep do the same thing? Why can't my senator do the same thing? If all I do is go in there and just be that, that changes the game. And here's the other thing. We should not take the approach, even I shouldn't take the approach that it's just me, because there are good people.
There are actually.
There are. How did we get Not Too Young to Run to pass? Those people in the National Assembly. How did we get the Electoral Act to pass? There's people in the National Assembly. How did we get the Startup Bill to pass? There's people in the National Assembly. So there are like minds that are in there. They're just maybe not as many as they should be. So let's join them. Let's bring more like minds in so that we can do more good. That's the approach that we need to take. Guys, there is no, can you name one church that you can vouch for every member of the church or every member of its leadership, or one mosque or one school or one company? Can you name one family that there's not somebody in the family that has brain touch? It's not possible. Whenever there's a collection of people,
Okay.
you will never have 100% perfect people doing the right thing all of the time. We're human beings. We're inherently flawed. But the more good people, the more like-minded people, the more right-thinking people you put into a system, the better the system becomes. And that's the thing. Let's stop taking this approach that it's all bad and there's nothing we can do. That's a defeatist mentality, and I refuse to succumb to that.
It's quite a reductionist point of
It's
view.
a
to be honest.
reductionist point of view. Let's take the approach that yes, it's imperfect, but good has been done, and more good can be done the more we put good people in the system. That's what this is about. It's about getting a consensus of like-minded, right-thinking people, inserting them into government and collaborating with them, because it's also, they can't do it alone. When I get into government, I'm still going to come back to the private sector to be like, guys, by the way, I'm trying to put tech hubs in Etiosa. Oh yeah, how far? All the businesses that are represented in my constituency, come, let's do this thing together. Because government alone doesn't have all the resources to get it done. So this thing is very much a collaboration. It's not my agenda, it's our agenda. It's not my office, it's our office.
So I'll stop you on that because time, and I'd
Okay.
like to talk about the next thing, which is money.
Okay,
How do we grease those wheels without money?
so again, it comes back to collaboration, right? Nobody has the kind of, well, some people do. But those of us who are coming from the position that I'm coming from,
Uh-huh.
we don't have the resources to get this done. So what you do is you cast the vision and you try to convince people on the journey. And then people come along and start to say, hey, you know what? I'll take this off your hands. We did a round of, in our campaign, we did a round of A boards. You know, those, when you drive around and you see those A boards. And I remember a businessman called me and he said, I like these A boards that you're doing. They glow in the dark at night. They're so different. He said, you are not doing enough. You need more. I said, sir, the one that you see, I've not finished paying for it. You're telling me to do more. I'm still owing money on the minimal ones that you see. I've not finished paying for it.
Okay.
He said, you know what? I'm going to call my printers. I'm going to print 100 more for you. And he printed 100 more and sent them to office. This was in 2019. The campaign office that we used in 2019, somebody called me and said, where's your campaign office? I said, sir, it's my house. He said, no, don't worry. In one of my places in VI, there's a small room upstairs. You can use it. That became our campaign office. The car that I drove to your station this morning, I was sitting in a meeting. In fact, our gubernatorial candidate, Jando, they had just shot at his entourage and stoned his entourage when they were going for a ward visit. And I'd called this meeting of business people. We call it cocktails and conversations, where we just have conversations about the country, the community, and the campaign. And somebody said, how are you moving around? Everybody in Lekki knows your car. He said, sir, it's the car that God has given me. That's how we're moving. He said, don't worry. I'm going to arrange a different mode of transportation for you as my contribution. What am I saying? It's incredibly expensive. That is why people who are not involved, who are not running for office, need to find people that are and share the burden with them. It's incredibly difficult. It's expensive. But the more private sector people come along and partner with us, then the easier it is for us to go on this journey. It's especially those of us who don't have, that, godfather figure sitting behind the scenes and writing the check for you to do everything you need to do. We depend largely, literally, the campaign, the doors that are opening on the campaign is because literally people in the private sector get inspired and say, hey, you know what? I'm sending you 5,000 t-shirts, or I'm doing this, or I'm printing A-boards, or I'll contribute to your transportation, or I'll send money into your campaign accounts for you to be able to do certain things. That's what it takes. It takes this collaboration, this consensus. Those of us who are running for office need to find those of us who are not, who say, you know what, nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. And if I do the little that I can do for you, it just helps you take a couple of steps further. And that's how you get by. That's literally how you get by.
Okay. Let me take another call. 014489 981. Hello, good morning. Yes. You're through. Good morning. What's your name and your location? And your name? Ian. Okay, hello, Ian from Surulere. Go ahead. Hmm.
Oh wow. I greet you, sir.
Why?
Mm,
Okay.
mm, mm, mm,
Okay.
mm, mm. Thank you.
All right
Thank
then,
you, Mr.
Ian.
Ian. Thank you. Mm,
Okay.
that's correct. Thank you, Ian.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Ian.
God bless you, sir. I will not.
Thank you,
Yes,
Ian.
sir.
So I'm gonna make room for another call, but
Thank
thank you
you,
very
Ian.
much for
Thank you so
calling.
much. God bless you, bro. Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
All right. Hello. Good morning. What is your name and your location? Good morning. Is that Abbas?
Ah, our regular contributors. Welcome,
Abbas
sir.
from Tin Can. Okay. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. 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 Amen. Mm-hmm. 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 Thank you very much, Mr. Abbas. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Abbas.
much. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. God bless you, sir.
All right, so we're going to take a break, and then after the break, I'm going to focus on the messages that have come in up on our WhatsApp platform
Okay.
on 0809 444
Actor, and you're listening
Okay,
to Smooth
I have not.
98.1. Keep listening. I dream of a new Lagos where we leave our
No,
homes and
you
return
don't
the
allow
same.
what I'm saying. And then I'll
Um,
come after. I'll take
Safely
it.
hold our
Thank you.
bags and phones on the streets, but
okay,
not
let's see.
anymore because no city is above the
So
law.
Wale,
Lives
I
of two
was told them you
detectives as
cannot
they
fly from
bring
the
justice to
outside.
Lagos in this
Part of
fast-paced
the
action drama
process.
series, Crime and
Let's
Justice,
see.
coming December 8th, only on Showmax. Subscribe
Okay,
from
Marcy.
1,200 naira
Okay,
monthly.
the
Sign
Desmond
up
Elliott
now at
one.
showmax.com.
Bad and the ugly.
Words are
Okay.
powerful, but even more
Let's
powerful
see. We've
is
got
the
about
impact
40
their
seconds before we
action.
get
Which
in,
is why
and
this storyline
we have like
doesn't just say you are important.
maybe
65,000 messages.
yes, we have a number of messages, but also not that much
And
time. So we'll see how we
We'll
do
make
it.
it work.
from our online banking and mobile app to our star 7111 hash platform to our super fast loan services and so much more.
In Keystone, you'll find a refreshing approach that takes banking from being bearable to pleasurable. Experience customer dedication and refreshing innovation that go beyond
All right,
words.
we're back in
Keystone
5.
Bank. We grow together.
Love music. Love life.
It's 46 minutes gone past 9 o'clock, and let's get back into it. I did say when we got back on this side of the break that we would be looking at the messages. So, first things first, let's go to WhatsApp.
Okay.
So, would you say to this message from FTA from VGC, who says, when the youth become serious about power, they will do the hard work the marathons require, and that is not joining an existing party, because he asked why you joined an existing party. Goes on to say it's by starting their own differentiated party and starting from there.
I would say that number one, I did start a party. Myself and BK, we talked about this earlier in the show. We did the Modern Democratic Party move, and we did that, right? We did that. We invested our time, our money, our energy, our resources, our friends, our family, our volunteers, and we ran a very good campaign. Not enough for either of us to get into office, but a good campaign nonetheless. And it is the lessons that we learned from that that have informed our choice of how to go about it now. And we've decided that we need to get into this, or I've decided that I need to get into the system to be able to have the kind of impact and change that I seek. And that's the goal, is to get into the system to make that kind of impact. Now, that doesn't stop anybody else from going to do what we did. That doesn't stop anybody else from forming a new party or from joining the other existing. It's not only PDP and APC that exist, right? There's 18, I believe. There used to be 96, now there are 18 political parties. So you are very free to join one of 18 or to form your own. And that's the message, right? I feel like this is the way to go. I've come to this decision based on my own experiences and my own efforts and the things that I've done. And I'm opening the door for other people who feel like this is the way to go. Come, I'm opening the door for you. Now, if you feel like this is not it, there's nothing stopping you from doing things the way that you feel. Everybody do something. That's the point. I've decided to do this. Do what comes true to you, and we'll see how it works out.
So I think that part of the rationale behind this message from who was it, from FTA, from VGC, is this idea that people have of the already established parties being tainted beyond repair. And that goes back into a conversation that we had while we were off air, but also on YouTube, in which you talked about the fact that you were tainted anyway, even though you came in with you were tainted, you were brushed with the same taint from people.
Absolutely. I was running an independent party, self-funded, with the few friends and family around me. People still accuse me of being corrupt. People still accuse me of collecting money from government. Go and check 2019. They dragged my life. I've never been dragged so much like the day I decided that I was going to get into politics. So for anybody who's even thinking about getting into politics, the number one piece of advice I can give you is don't get your validation from the comment section. Have thick skin, because people will see. It doesn't matter whether you think you're doing independent or mainstream, they will come for you, they will drag you, they will accuse you, they will suspect you of everything under the sun. It just comes with the territory, because young people have been burnt, right? We've seen a lot of people who have let us down when it comes to government and politics and things. And so understand that that's the terrain that you're getting into. And regardless of what method you choose, people will question it, people will question you, people will ridicule you. And that's human opinion for you. One day they will hate you, the next day they will honor you. The same people that drag you today, if you win tomorrow, they will say, hey, we're the ones that stood with you. Do you understand? It's human. Listen, between Palm Sunday and Crucifixion Friday, how many days, right? Palm Sunday, they're saying, Hosanna in the highest, crown him, ride on a donkey, welcome Jesus. Crucifixion Friday, they chose a thief and a criminal over him and dragged him and said, crucify him, because that's the way human beings are. And if they would do that to Jesus Christ, then how much less you and I? So understand going in that you will never get 100% of support, regardless of your intentions, regardless of your execution, regardless of how much you try and how much you really want to do a good thing. You will never have 100% of people pulling for you in the same direction, but you don't need 100% of people. Jesus doesn't have 100% of people till today. So how much less you and I, right?
Okay.
So just face your purpose, face your mission, and that's it.
Okay, the next message comes in. I think this will be the final message with a question, and then I'll read some statements
Okay.
because we have maybe 5 minutes left.
Okay.
So this one in from Saint Fajo says, you know, he says, Banky W, you're good. But my question is this.
Okay.
We all know about political influential personnel.
Okay.
How do you intend to manage them in conjunction to your political goals? He also said, went on to say, Desmond Elliott got in and tongue lashed the youths. I hope you won't sweet talk us and then turn around and attack the youths that voted you in.
Right. Okay. I think this. First of all, I think that whenever I'm in an interview or any kind of public engagement forum, I get this kind of question, right? And I think it's ironic that you don't equate all lawyers to be the same or all bankers. How many lawyers do we have that are in political office or gunning for political office? How many bankers do we have? How many engineers? You don't say, oh, one engineer said this, so are you as an engineer going to do the same thing? I think it's only when it comes to entertainment, people who have background in show business that, and I guess because by nature we kind of stick out, right? So it's human nature for us to try to equate those things.
And also it's accessibility, isn't it?
It is accessibility as well. But I think that in the same vein that you have all kinds of lawyers, engineers, doctors, bankers, people from all walks of life and business that are going into political office, you will have people who come from show business backgrounds. And it doesn't mean that every single one of them is the same thing. I think it's also important to acknowledge how you're getting into office. And I don't speak for anybody else. And I'm sure if you want to, you can have Desmond Elliott here to fight his own battles.
Speak for himself.
And so I'm not here to to drag him or to say he did things one way or another. I'm here to speak about my own self and my own journey. And I am getting in by the grace of God and because of the support of the people. And so I will always owe my accountability to the grace of God and to the support of the people. That's who I answer to. There's no big figure person in background that is imposing me on the party or imposing me on the constituency. The only way I get in is because people decide that this is who they want. I'll be the people's representative. And for this political journey to continue, it means I have to continue to represent the people, to serve the people, to lead the people, to fight for the people, to speak for the people. And if I do that, then in 4 years, I'll be able to come back on your show again and say, guys, we're going again, or we're going for something else. But if I don't, then I'll have to hide my head in shame. And I'm willing to take that risk. And I'm hoping that people give me that
You
chance.
said it, we recorded it.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, let me read a couple of messages and then I'll come to you for the final, for your final words as we still get back to the focus and which has been throughout the common thread throughout this conversation, which is of protest to power. Just let's see if there's what you would like to end on with that. So this first message comes in from YG who says, we get the leadership we deserve. The young people of Nigeria deserve Nigerians who care about Nigerians. And so he goes on to laud you and says that he wishes you the very best.
God bless you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm grateful.
Lally says, in my job and speaking engagements, I always tell them, especially youths, that you cannot fight them from the outside. You need to get into government to make a change, or else nothing will happen. Those in government will always put out policies that favor them, and they will continue to disenfranchise people. So you need to be a part of the process.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's about all I can take. So final words from you, Mr. Wellington.
Final words. I think we'll end the show, or at least I'd like to end the show where we started. Which is by saying that the goal of activism, the goal of advocacy is change. It's impact, it's improvement. And until we start seeing the kind of change and impact and improvement that we seek, then our activism has not yet been successful. So while protests are important, that cannot be where we place 100% of our focus. We need to begin to move from protest to power. Some of us, like-minded, right-thinking people, need to stick our necks out to get into the system. And those of us who are not running for office, find the people that you believe in because they are there. Find them, support them with whatever you have. It can be your time, it can be your talent, it can be your treasure. Whatever it is that you have, nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. Find someone and do something. And let's start to put right-thinking people into government. I hope that you believe in the vision that we have. Our vision is to build a mainstream bridge into mainstream politics in a mainstream political party, for those of us who are right thinking and like minded, to come in and let's build from the ground up. We're going to win this election by the grace of God. This is a Tiosa election. We're going to win it. And we're going to build from here. And we're going to change the landscape of Nigeria over the next 2 to 3 election cycles. And you will see that we can do things differently. The problems are from the top down, but the solutions are from the bottom up. And this is what fighting from the bottom looks like. This is what building from the bottom looks like. If you do believe in what we're doing, please go to our website, banky2023.com. You can sign up as a volunteer, you can donate, you can do whatever it is that you feel, or you can just check my manifesto out and check our legislative agenda. Thank you so much, Shopsy, for having me on the show. Shout out to Smooth 98.1 FM. God bless you guys for listening. Banky W, Olubankole Wellington, your future representative, Etiosa, by the grace of God.
Okay. I will allow you that last one. So what I'm going to say, and of course it's what I say almost every day here on Smooth Breakfast, is you have the power, you have the vote. Your vote counts. So go ahead and do it. We've heard from Banky W, Olubankole Wellington, Mr. Wellington as I like to call him.
Yes, ma'am.
And what I can tell you is that I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
I like what you're putting down, but then it's the people that have the final say, and I'm
Absolutely.
just a part of the people. So 2023 is going to show. And at the end of the day, the thing that I key most into turning protests to power are the real small steps, because that journey of 1,000 steps starts with one.
Absolutely.
A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, and it's the small steps. Whether it's with you who enfranchise people by getting them in and getting them registered for their voters cards. When I was seeing that, I just thought, okay, there we go. That's something. But yeah, it's all about the little moves that we make that then turn into a big swell. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds for you.
Woo-hoo. Thank you so much.
All right.
God bless you.
Smooth Breakfast is done. Coming up, it is going to be Strictly Soul with Oluwaseun. I'm Sope Martins. I will see you tomorrow for Feel Good Friday.
I dream of a new Lagos where we leave
And we're
our
done.
lives and return the same.
That was
That was fun. Thanks for
wonderful.
having